Hey everybody, Sarah Marie Thompson here from wildandcreative.com, and this is a Wild and Creative Masterclass, fun ways to increase your personal power and everyday magic. And today I have with me Brittney Carmichael, who is a self-love guru, trailblazing lightworker, and psychic medium. You've probably seen her and her colorful hair all over the internet, and she is just an amazing light source online. So thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for letting me have you here.
My light is taking over. Your words are being confused. No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Awesome. Well, you're such a big part of, I feel like, a movement that's going on online with women and confidence. And so before we kind of get into your story or anything about you, can you just tell us a little bit about the confidence piece and how that is so important for you to share online?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big believer in the idea that beauty begins within. And it doesn't matter what our external physical body looks like. It's the joy and the happiness that resonate from the inside. I think that when you shine from the inside, it's this radiant glow that begins in the heart. And no matter what you look like, if you possess that, and you can call it confidence, whatever, if you possess that love, then everyone will see you as a beautiful, bright, shining light. So I think confidence begins within. Beauty begins within. They aren't necessarily the same thing either.
So let's start a little bit about your story. So if people have gone to your website before, they can see that you've been through some stuff. You're very open with sharing that. For somebody who has not gone to your website before, maybe someone watching, can you just share a little bit about what your key points of was in your transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So my transformation has been obviously a gradual process, just like everyone's evolution. But in 2012, that was when I made the major shift consciously, where I knew I was going through a rebirth and an awakening. In 2012, I was 75 pounds overweight, and my mom had a massive stroke that paralyzed her, where she couldn't speak anymore. And I was working as a hairdresser behind the chair, and I was overworked, and it was my own fault because I've been an entrepreneur since day one. But, I had that hustle mentality, like always have to work. And, now I found that if you don't burn yourself out and you balance yourself, you can sustainably keep going. But at that time, I didn't. So I was overweight because I didn't have time to work out. I didn't know what to do with all the energy I was picking up from all the clients in my chair. And then my mom almost died. So it was like just a bunch of shit that happened that awakened me to the fact that things needed to change. And that's when transformation happens. When you hit a place of suffering and you're like, I'm done with this. I'm going to make a change. So I began to notice how I was treating myself internally and externally. And I realized that my story back then was, I'm so fat, I'm so fat, I'm so fat. And when I shifted my story to I'm beautiful, which was uncomfortable and weird, and it took a lot of practice, to hear myself go, I'm fat, and then go, no, like reframe, I'm beautiful, I'm loving, I'm confident. So as I began to make those internal shifts, my external reality began to transform, because everything begins within our mindset. The way we feel about ourselves and the way that we speak to ourselves really influence the way we perceive and experience our reality. So a lot of things happened where it was like a huge wake-up call, where it was like, life is short. You must be grateful for the physical body that you have and treat it with respect, because that's what happened to my mom. I can thankfully say after 5 years, she is fully recovered and better than ever. And it has changed our life for the best. And so that's why I always say there's always some beautiful blessing in disguise, even no matter how hard it was. Because I remember back then, I didn't see it as a blessing. I was just like blaming, like, oh, why would this happen? And now I can say what good can happen from this. And I can see the blessings and the silver lining so much faster now.
Well, it's a perfect example of your mom even going through a transformation and you technically
totally.
simultaneously. Just about what mindset can do, right? Because I'm pretty sure that she probably had some transformational mindset in her recovery as well, right? Which I'm sure you had a lot to do with. But
well, absolutely. I always I always say Love and Led Zeppelin healed my mom, because I would sit in her, I would sit in her room, I would wheel her outside, and I would sit there and hold space and love, with the belief and the determination in my own mind that she's going to get better. I don't care what the doctors have to say. They don't know her. She's magic, and she is fierce, and she will come back. And so I would play Led Zeppelin, because that's like her favorite music. I'd play it, and she would cry, and she couldn't speak and she couldn't talk. So I knew that she was still in there. I knew her spirit was still available. And so that gave me enough hope. And I think because I had so much hope and so much faith that everything would be fine, she reflected that same energy, and we just held the space for her healing. And miracles can happen.
No, absolutely. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I was wondering about how your mom was doing, so that's awesome.
Yeah, she's kicking ass.
And I'm sure, she tells a powerful story now herself too, right? In her own way.
It's funny. She says, I would do this all over again, and I wouldn't change it because of the transformation that you had, Brittney. And it's the sweetest thing, because, like any mom would do anything for their child. I was put in the reverse situation very quickly. She's not old. She was in her 40s,
Yeah.
And it was the best blessing, because one, it showed me that our mindset and our determination to keep going no matter what, to stay persistent, pays off every time.
So before you had your transformation, I'm assuming that you're of the mindset that everything physical happens from the mind. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, everything begins within. So,
so before you had your transformation, before that happened with your mom, were you of that mindset, or were you, skirting around it and didn't quite get there yet? Or like, when did that really take place for you?
I think, reading a lot of books on personal development and law of attraction and things like that began to open up my mindset to the idea that our thoughts are creating our reality. During the transformation, I had no mindset of that. I mean, I was unconscious. Really? I was a robot walking around just like most people on this planet until they awaken, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you're talking about, all of us awakening, especially us women, because we're so in tuned with our emotions and our intuition that we're getting the messages like, wake up, like own your power. And so I was unconscious to that idea that my mindset created my reality, obviously, because I kept saying I was so fat and so fat and so fat. And I proved myself right with the words that I was speaking. But as I became more aware, and I'm not exactly sure when that happened, because I went through a whole whirlwind of changes, especially developing my psychic skills along the way. So there's been so much that my mind has been open to. I think the best advice I could give, because I can't remember the exact shift for me about my mindset, is to be curious and to always challenge the beliefs that you've carried for so long, and be willing to examine all of those mindsets that you do have, and be willing to let them go when they don't serve you anymore.
Totally. Thank you. Something that I found that's really, really awesome about your vibe online and your website is that you've really mixed kind of like a hip feminine approach to, I would say, modern day spiritualism, let's call it that, if you will. And you really mix the two very, very nicely. Does that really show you as a soul, like on your website and on your personal vibe? I'm assuming that it does.
Well, I created the whole thing, so it's definitely of my authenticity and my vibe. The thing that I wanted to merge together, because I find that so many spiritual women that are hiding in the spiritual closet want to come out into the world, but don't necessarily know how. Mm-hmm. Well, through trial and error of calling myself a psychic or talking about hypnosis or woo-woo, terms like that, it really turns people off, especially in Texas where I live. I'm being the light in Dallas. Okay. Yeah. So I had to find a way where I could come out of the spiritual closet in such a graceful way that wasn't like, you're a witch, you're crazy, you worship the devil, because that's just nonsense. And that's what I'm talking about when I say open your belief system, mm-hmm. because what we've been told about this is absolutely untrue. And I feel at this time in the Aquarian age, the women that are awakening to their inner wisdom have a fear of being killed or burned or punished or shamed for their gifts and for their healing. So they're so quiet about it. And so I wanted to find a way in which that I could show, yes, I am I know that I'm divine. I know that I'm a spiritual channel, just as we all have this connection, and still put my own flair on it. Like, this is who I am. I love rainbow hair and unicorns and Lisa Frank. And just the more authentic you are, the more the right type of people will find you. And so I'm not necessarily concerned with, well, what if people are offended by the word psychic? Well, then they don't realize that it just means to receive information faster. You know what I mean? So I'm not too concerned about.
No, I think it's just crazy online. Like, the different words have, different connotations for different people. Right. Sure. And I'm assuming that because you're a little bit more like in the South, right? Especially in the States. I'm in Canada. I feel like we're a little bit more open, I'm assuming. But it is funny. And so many people hold back on those words that are like so meaningful to them, and don't put them on their website. It's kind of like they're holding back putting things on their resume in a sense, right? And they're really doing a disservice to themselves and to other people that can, feel like they can connect with them, right? So thank you for sharing it.
You made me think of a really great point, actually. The fear mentality of like, who am I to put this out there? I'm afraid. What if people will judge me? That's your exact fear that you're creating on the internal level. And so if you're coming from that vibration, that energy, that mindset, then you're going to exactly attract those people that are going to judge you and criticize you and show you the mirror into which you're feeling yourself. My right ear is ringing, so I'll take that as a sign that a good message is coming through. So if you just throw the fear off to the side and you're like, yeah, you can be there, but like, you're not in my way, you can come with me, and you just put out your authentic vibe, woo-woo or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, whatever your authentic vibe is, then that energy will attract the light. Like I said, that vibe will bring you your tribe, and you won't even notice the naysayers because you'll be vibrating at such a higher level than that low level energy. You will just completely bypass it. And I think so many people are afraid to even put their toe, into the water because of fear. And so I just want to be the one to say that if you cast aside fear and you just let love lead the way, like magic abounds. You don't need to create more. It is already here for you. It's just the more you trust in it, the more you'll see it.
I have this little question that I ask myself whenever I feel like kind of fears like trying to come in or like direct me in the wrong way. And it's like, if I was on a deserted island, would I care? And it's always nope. You know what I mean? I know that sounds so silly, but it's just kind of like, if you were just like, true to yourself in every single moment and had no external influences or fear coming through, would you care about that? Or would you care about this? Right. And the answer is usually no. You just want to do it for yourself, right? You just want to be that exact person who you were born to be, essentially. So that's an awesome tip. So thank you so much. I want to know, because you do a lot of work with energy, right? So I know that you talk about self-care a lot on your website and in your group. And what is self-care to you, though? Because somebody who maybe isn't aware of all the different things that self-care is encompassed by might think that it just means like going to a spa.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And I definitely add that to the list because everyone deserves to be pampered in such a way. But self-care to me is not selfish. And it's something I realized through my mom's stroke, that because I asked her when she finally woke up and she was able to speak, I said, Mom, why'd you have the stroke? Because actually I must have known then on an intuitive level, because I was like, you created this. Why did this happen? So apparently we all know, you just don't know until you know, until you realize, you know? And so I asked her, Mom, why did you have the stroke? Why did you create this? And she said, because everybody needed something from me. Okay. And my mom is, and I would say my mom is so selfless, and she gives and gives and gives and gives. I mean, she even gives away my room to strangers. Like, you need a place to stay, like all the time. Like that's my mom. And it's a beautiful quality. But what I realize is there's a balance, just as I was talking before, of burning out and replenishing yourself. So when I talk about self-care, I'm talking about what can you do to nurture your inner child, your spirit, the thing that brings you joy, the thing that you're passionate about, the thing that allows you to relax. It's not just getting your nails done, although that is a great way to relax. Walks in nature, orgasms. There are many free ways to treat and pamper yourself, to renew your own energy. Because if we are these brilliant spiritual beings to be of service to everyone, which is what lights us up, then we have to take responsibility for filling our cup first, and then using that extra abundance, because we are energy generators. We have to then fill our cup so that we can fill others. We can't just keep dumping our cup into everyone else's and being like, okay, do you have some for me? Because most people don't. And I think that's the true mark of a light worker. Someone who knows, has the wisdom to take care of their energy so that they can heal many other people on the planet.
And it's cool because the self-care that you're talking about is definitely more of on like a mental level, right? Like even like going for a walk, or, you know, really connecting with your inner child, or having sex, or whatever it is. It's more on an internal level where you're actually kind of accessing your creativity, right? I would imagine that, yes, you can get really creative, like going to get your nails done, of course, but, you know, you're getting so much more powerful with the self-care that you're talking about, right? So
it's about tuning inside versus the external.
Right.
And so many of us have been taught to stay external, to always be looking for the next thing or the next answer. But what I'm realizing in this lifetime is that if we tune in, we have all the answers we seek. We have all the love that we're looking for. And when we provide that for ourselves, we naturally draw more of that from other people. And we no longer crave it. We just appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. So you, before we got on, we were talking about how, and you're very open about this, about how hairdressing, which is like one of your main things that got you into, I would assume got you really expressing your creativity, got you full board into entrepreneurship, all that kind of thing, has been a really big catalyst for you to move forward as an online mentor.
Absolutely. I mean, I've spent 10,000 hours or more behind the chair listening one-on-one, actually listening. This is the difference, because so many times in communication, you're too busy thinking about your own shit. You don't even hear what most people are telling you. But in this space, for me to be of service, I have to be present in the moment. And when you do that, you open up space for listening, for healing, for so many things. And if someone knows that they're supported and they're being listened to, they share so many things. I always joke and say I'm a hairpist, and that insurance should definitely, like, hairdresser should be covered in that. But no, I've just spent so much time listening to women, especially because it's hair. It's about how I look. And so how I look must translate to how I feel.
Yeah, there's such a huge connection.
Yeah. And every single time for years, I began to ask the question, if you sat in my chair, I would say, what will this new haircut, new hair color, new hairstyle represent for you? What quality do you want to embody by making this change with your hair? Because it wasn't like, oh, highlights give me confidence, but people wanted more confidence. And somehow they tied the two together. But what I realized is that it was a choice that they were making. Mm-hmm. Noodles is my hair. I chose a hairless cat, so I didn't have to deal with it when I got home. Oh, but yes, working behind the chair with only women in a suite. So, you know, in less than 200 square feet is different than walking into a New York City salon where there's, 20 stylists and it's busy and it's talking. I slow everyone down. Yeah. I slow everybody down to my relaxed level. And it really provides that space for people to see who they are, because they're so busy thinking. This is why you mentioned, when we talk about self-care, it's all about mainly about mental stuff, because that's where we're stuck in humanity right now. Is our mind is overworking, and we have to learn how to train it to shut off when we want to relax and to turn it on when we want to make a grocery list.
It's awesome how you were really able to take, hairdressing into like a full-on experience for your clients, right? I'm assuming that many of them, probably almost all of them, would come to you for that experience, right? And it is totally like going to a therapist, right? But more of a fun.
It's so much more fun.
Transformation. You do a lot of different energy work, like we kind of touched on before. But for you, what is the benefit of really being able to calibrate your energy, like to kind of like reset it? I'm assuming with like self-care and all those kind of things and many other things that you probably do. Let's say, what's it like for you if you don't?
Awful. I mean, everyone knows when they're feeling out of balance. They're tired, they're stressed, they're like energy is just leaking from their body and they just can't, they have no motivation. So what I found is that because I was so present and because I was making it an experience and providing a space for women to heal, they would dump their energy. And if you're empathic, if you're sensitive, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this, series, then you most likely are, because you're drawn to sensitive people, that I would take all their energy on. And this is what happens to a lot of healer women who become overweight. They take all of other people's energy into their system and they just shove it down into their hips. And they don't know what to do with it. And so what I found is that when I would come home, I would take a shower immediately and cleanse my aura, because the water actually cleanses all the energy from the aura. And every week I take 2 hot Epsom salt baths with essential oil, and that will help to pull out not only the physical toxins in the body, but it also does an energetic cleanse of the aura. And our aura is just a protective blueprint of our energy. And as you become close to people, especially as I'm touching them on their head, which is really a safe, that's special, Yeah. I can feel when they're stressed, and I would notice that if they had headaches, or if they mentioned headaches before the shampoo and then after the shampoo, they wouldn't, but my hands would be tingly and I would feel kind of weird. Then I realized I was taking their energy on so that they could have healing. And yes, as it is a selfless act of love, I have to then do something with it. And what I was doing before was shoving it all down. That's why I was 200 pounds. Taking everyone's energy and not knowing what to do with it. So the importance of calibrating or balancing your energy, one, is to notice that you are made of energy and that it is, emotions are energy in motion. So to pay attention to your emotions as they arise. And then as you begin to clear and cleanse away other people's emotions, it becomes easier for you to detect, are these my own, or were these someone else's that I picked up on earlier today?
I was talking, this reminded me of a story. I was talking to my acupuncturist friend a couple weeks back, and she's very much into the physical elements that can help you out, like a lot of different Chinese medicines or, crystals, what have you, more of those physical elements. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to her, because we've done a lot of different, healing modality teachings like that together. And I said, for you, what is the difference between like a mental energy cleanse or using those kind of physical, maybe it's smudging or crystals or what have you, to do an energy cleanse? And she really said that, people really want to be connected to the earth. Like they really want to feel that connection, that natural connection. And that's why she thought that they were so powerful. And I pretty much agreed. I wanted to know on your take of things. I'm sure that because you use tarot, which I said is a very physical thing. And, I'm sure you use a lot of crystals and a lot of other physical items. Is that the same for you? Like you feel that real connection with nature when you use them?
Well, considering they do come from our mother, I would naturally assume that the energy and vibration puts us into that grounded connectedness to where we came from. So using the physical tools that are provided from the earth are great ways to tune back into that natural energy. As you were talking, I was thinking, well, you don't have to have all of the physical tools to do the energetic clearing and cleansing and things like that. And I started thinking, well, what is it? And it's the intention behind it. It's the energy that you create behind it. So
it's like that extra force, like that extra confirmation of power, essentially, right? And
so it reminds me of like the highlights. See, like people feel more confident and beautiful when they walk out with highlights, but what were the highlights? They're just lighter pieces of hair.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. That doesn't change their spirit or how they feel about themselves at all, but it's a symbolic physical representation of that energy and intention. So I love them. I'm covered in crystals because they do vibrate to a certain energy and resonance. They're great for protection, for healing, and for balancing and clearing and things like that. So yeah, I mean, grounding our energy is very essential, and using the physical gifts from the earth will put us into alignment with that energy.
So on a side note from what you just said about people leaving with highlights and feeling like that much more confident, and what is it really like? It's not really a change, but within themselves. I totally agree. And then it's like, side note, I'm so happy that you're so color oriented too, because I don't do hair, but I do like a lot of paintings and art and things like that. I'm so drawn to different colors, and different colors make me feel totally more confident than others, right? Or they just totally are able to reset your mood, your vibe, what have you. You obviously, because you have lots of different hair colors, you must find that as well too, right? So like using color.
Yeah. Absolutely, because color itself is a healing modality. It has its own vibration. I mean, if you think about the chakras, they resonate to a different vibration. And because of that, they're different colors, all the colors of the rainbow. So the reason why we're so drawn to the colors is because that's what we are made of, essentially. You know, like our light body is a rainbow of etheric colors. So I find that colors are extremely healing. I read a really interesting book by Linda Goodman called Star Signs, and she's a psychic medium who wrote all about astrology and numerology and our names and how the vibration of the letters make a difference. And in this book, she talks about healing with purple plates. You would buy a purple plate and lay it on your body to help recalibrate your energy. So colors absolutely are healing. I have been pink for many, 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 many years. And just this week, I was like, I'm going lavender and today is the spring equinox, which is great. So it's like the beginning of our astrological year. So it's fresh beginning. So I feel like as you choose a new outfit, choose a new hair color, choose a new lipstick, it just is a new representation of that evolved blossom version that you've just gone through in that past cycle.
I love that you mentioned color therapy in a way, because I think it's one of those things that doesn't really get talked about too much. I feel like with so many people just, almost tiptoeing into the more modern spiritualism of all the different things that they can really tap into. Color therapy is still kind of like a fringe thing where they're not there yet. But funnily enough, I always used to do art like for years and years, and a lot of interior design, and I would put my art into the homes that I did. And I wouldn't understand at the time because I didn't really have that knowledge, but I was really actually creating that art to transform the space's energy. And it's so interesting when you can kind of look back at the things that you were doing and say like, whoa, there was a total connection there, although I wasn't totally aware of it. Is there anything that you can think of, like going back to even like your childhood, or maybe just as you're kind of transforming into your 20s, where you were kind of doing something like that, and looking back, you can say, wow, like that's what I was doing and I get it now?
Yeah. I mean, everything, isn't that what hindsight is for? But two things that came up very similar as you were talking that I feel called to share is that something I notice about women in getting their hair done is anytime they decide to go darker. Now, this isn't always the case, but for the most part, I notice that normal blonde or light-haired women who have been that way for a long time, they come in and they say, I want to go brown, I want to go dark. And I'm always like, what's the deal? Yeah. And it's 9 times out of 10 that they feel overweight. And so it's very, very interesting to me to find, looking back at my own life, when I was 200 pounds, I had short black hair and I only wore black clothing, which is actually hilarious that we're having this conversation, because this is the one black shirt I still own and I haven't worn it for years. And today I was like, I'm going to wear this black shirt.
But you're purple, so we're all good.
I'm just saying. So it's like really interesting because I only wore black. I mean, colors freaked me out. I was like, oh, who would wear colors? No way. I mean, I had colorful hair, but as far as the clothing, because I didn't love my body, I was hiding myself, and I just like everything dark, don't look at me, dark eyeliner, all of that. And then as I began to let love in and to lighten up and my energy began to shift, colors started making their way into my life.
So for you in the work that you've done, you've really kind of figured that when people really want to add more darkness to themselves, it's kind of a way of people being like, don't look at me.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Sure.
Right. Definitely. Or just wanting to kind of blend in and hide a little bit more, right?
Absolutely.
You must have those, experience those people too, when they have, say, lost weight or just feeling that much more confident, where they're like, oh, like make me like bright red or like pink, whatever, right?
Yep. So. Absolutely. Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about, we're kind of switching topics here, but how you really see yourself as a magical abundance magnet?
Nice. Well, like we mentioned, and we can thank Albert Einstein for this discovery that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So we know we're made of energy. And if we hold the idea that law of attraction is always bringing us the stuff that, is happening in our life, then we need to take a look around at our life and go, okay, what is surrounding me? And the more I appreciate, the more I have gratitude for the things that surround me, the more I naturally attract more of what that is. So if I'm complaining, that's also an order. If I'm complaining about being stressed, I'm going to call more stress into my life. If I'm giving thanks about the abundance that I have in my life, or the love or support or friends that I have in my life, then I naturally draw more of them to me, because to appreciate means to make more of. So being a magnet for miracles, a magnet for abundance, again, it all begins within, with the ideas and the emotions and the energy that you're holding about yourself. So I just continue to hold my thoughts positive, to be thankful for every single thing that's happening in my life, even if it seems crazy. I always say there's what good can come from this. I find the one silver lining in the shit show, and I just say thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just kind of like let the negativity just roll on by, because it's not always going to be joy and rainbows and kittens, but it's about how quickly can you return to your center of peace and calm, no matter what is happening in your life.
I was just having like this really awesome visual when you were telling the story about, how energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's just always transforming. And I was just really thinking about like the weather, like say there's like a hurricane happening, right? And eventually like it does like dissolve, and then it's like sunny, like nothing is being newly created in a sense. It's just always transforming, right? Exactly. So you can decide to be that hurricane or the sunny day. Yeah. Can you just touch a little bit on gratitude for us? I'm assuming that gratitude probably somehow fits into your self-care list.
Absolutely. I think gratitude is really the key to creating the perception of the blessings that you do have in your life. I watched the documentary The Secret many years ago, and the idea of this gratitude rock really struck me. And so I took to that, and I grabbed a crystal. I was like, a rock? No way, I'm getting a crystal. And I put it in my pocket, and every time you touch the crystal in your pocket, you're supposed to say something you're grateful for. So I did this for a long time, and it became a really fun piece, because as I would talk about it or pull out my crystal, people would be like, what's that about? And then I could tell the story, and it's like my way of sharing positivity and light. But what happened, because it was just an experiment, because I was like, law of attraction, you can think your thoughts and manifest things. I started practicing with pink cars, and trust me, I saw many of them after I set the intention. So it was the same with gratitude. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Of course, gratitude feels good, but it wasn't a habit for me. And so I built the habit with the gratitude rock. And as I was building it, I realized how many blessings are in my life, and how easily it is for us to forget that hot, clean water is a huge blessing, that the roof over your head is a huge blessing, that the fact that you don't have dirt floors is a huge blessing, So I think that gratitude reminds us of how much we're blessed with. I mean, honestly, Google third world country. I tell my clients this all the time. Google it, look it up, and then shut the fuck up, because we're so blessed, and we just have to have appreciation and gratitude to keep that going.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's such a good point, because so many people are just like out of sight, out of mind. And a lot of people also haven't even experienced visually that kind of craziness and injustice, right? So yeah, that's a really good point. Now, we both have Christophers, I understand.
Yes.
You have one. And I see that he is somewhat involved in your online world. Can you share a little bit about that? Because that's really cool how you have, a partner that is very much like on the same level as you, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's such a great opportunity to be able to share with him. We met almost 11 years ago. And from day one, we're like, we have to work together. We're meant like, we have to work together. He was in real estate. I was in hairdressing. We both tried each other's profession, and it didn't work out so well. We did photography. We've tried all different things along our 10-year journey. And over the last few years, we've really realized that he took a more scientific approach to life, and I took a more spiritual approach. And we met right in the middle, where his NLP and hypnosis and mindset studies really started to merge into the psychic abilities and clairvoyance and things that I was diving into. And we kind of came together and we're like, let's do this together, because I'm a little bit more woo than he is, although he is psychic and a guru, really. I don't know what other word to call him. We have now realized that we both have incarnated in this lifetime. Now I'm about to get a little woo-woo on you guys, so just bear with me. If you've ever heard the term twin flame, Chris and I are absolutely twin flames. It was not easy to be with him in the beginning because we're exactly a reflection of each other. So we had a lot of healing and a lot of anger and hatred to heal from our past. And so Chris says that true love is investing in another spiritual growth. And that is what we've done for each other over the last decade. Now that we have healed ourselves, we know that together we can help heal other people as being the example through action, not just through telling people what to do or how to change their life, but actually living that. So we come together, we teach together, we balance the masculine and feminine, the mental and the physical and the spiritual. And it really is a blessing to have someone who does support you, no matter how often the weeds you go, they're still there to say, you got it, girl.
That's awesome. I'm asked often the question of how can you create the love in your life to show up? And I'm just like, oh, God. Well, how would you, first of all, I'd love to hear your answer for that.
Yeah, you give it to yourself first, and then you'll attract that exact same energy to you. You notice that women that get in abusive relationships, mentally or verbally or physically, whatever the case, they finally get out of the relationship, and then they repeat it with another man, same situation, over and over and over again. And that's because they're not learning the lesson. And they aren't valuing or loving themselves. Otherwise they wouldn't choose that shit again. They just went through it and they realized, they knew that was awful and I had the courage to get out. So why would you choose again? Right. And so I feel like in this, what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
Just about
how do you bring that love to yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I feel like happens is that we are trying to get everyone else to love us. So we'll commit to those shitty relationships versus giving ourselves the love first and then knowing, oh, hell no, I'm worthy of love and I will not accept that nonsense. Yeah. So my answer is to give yourself the love first and then you'll attract yourself. Was I doing that then? No. But if you want to be conscious about attracting your soulmate, then that's the key to bringing that to you.
Yeah, it's so simple and it's going to be so annoying for people to hear, right? Because they're like, what do you mean? Sure. Like, I already love myself. But I can absolutely completely say that happened for me. Like, there was a time where, I knew who I was, but I just wasn't that happy. And I made the decision one New Year's Eve night, I was like, in the morning, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be all about myself. And it's funny because then, I think it was 2.5 months later, I met the love of my life 11 years ago. So it happens.
Well, as you're sharing that, it just made me think I kind of did the same thing, but again, unconsciously, because I was 19, I was 20 years old. I was working 3 jobs and I just started hairdressing school. And I was like, screw boys, I'm done with them. Yeah. I'm going to focus on me. So I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to be a damn good hairdresser. I got this. And then 3 months later, Chris showed up and it's been 11 years. So I think there is a decision when you're like, no, I'm no longer seeking it from anybody else. I will provide it. Then you attract what you need to grow and learn.
I think that's the thing. If someone's looking for love, if you can really let all the extra crap go, let the guilt go, love yourself and really immerse yourself in your projects and your creativity, maybe 3 months later, you'll find a Christopher. I think that's what we're saying.
I'll tell you what, and Chris was my third Chris. I was like, okay, Chris, you third time's a charm. Don't mess this one up.
That's crazy. You've got a lot going on behind the scenes. Please share with us. You have a big course that you're launching soon. Share with us about that and anything else that you would love to talk about. I know that you also do tarot card readings a lot online. So anyway, go ahead, and this is your part of the stage right now.
Perfect. Yeah. So what I want to invite everyone to join, if you're even a little bit curious, is to follow me on my Facebook fan page where I do go live every Wednesday for a Woo Woo Wednesday Tarot reading. And in that space, I pull cards from Tarot, Oracle. It just depends on whatever deck I'm guided to. And I share messages that are going on energetically. And they work for everyone involved because you're trusting your own intuitive vibes on how you can relate that message to you. And like you said, I do mess with Tarot. I've been reading for over 4 years, and it's been the one self-care tool that I've never skipped. I we'll skip a workout or I'll, whatever. But that is something that my spirit is always like, no, you have get back to your cards, get back to your cards. So I love to provide these readings because it was through these readings that I learned to love myself. I learned to trust myself. I learned to connect with my intuition and my spirit guides. So I love providing that just as the way that I learned. It's not for everyone, but if you're at all interested or called to it, I very much invite you to join me over on Facebook at The World by Britt. It's like facebook.com/The World by Britt. And I do those every Wednesday. Now, the course that's coming out is called Shine School, and I'm super pumped about it. I've been working on this for my whole lifetime, really, because it was what was my transformation? When did it start? What did it take? And how did I do it? And it's also 10 years of listening to women, how they feel about themselves. So in Shine School, you're going to learn how to create self-care rituals that light you up from the inside. I'm going to teach you how to journal and teach you how to use tarot, or teach you how to use different tools and modalities to be able to connect to your spirit. I'm going to teach you how to love your body and treat your body right, knowing that it is a vehicle for your spirit, and that the energy that you're consuming is the energy that, is investing in your environment, really. I'll teach you how to forgive.
The perfect person for Shine School. Like, who would be just the most ideal person?
Yeah. The perfect person for Shine School is somebody who wants to let go of their past and really embrace a brand new future from the place of, I am authentically me and I'm okay with it. The quote that drives my life is from Georgia O'Keeffe. And she says, I've settled it for myself that all flattery and criticism will go down the same drain, and I'm quite free. So what Shine School was designed to do is to create freedom for women, freedom from fear, freedom from self-loathing, from anger that's nagging them. I'm going to teach you how to give yourself a mindset makeover so that you can see the miracles in life, so that you can manifest more abundance and magic in your life.
I bet there's so many people that are there that, you know what I mean? That just need to join your Shine School, because
it's so true.
It's going to be so liberating for so many people. It really is that first step to just decide to do it, right? So
that's it. And one of my best friends asked me yesterday, who's your ideal client? And I said, somebody with a willingness. And that's all I need. Somebody with a willingness to make that transformation in their life that they know they're called to do, that they've been scared or dragging their feet for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years. You're not too old to change. And it's not too late to say, okay, I surrender, and now show me what you got.
Awesome. That's so cool. So everybody, please make sure you do tune into Brittney's world of woo. Make sure you check out her, it's called Shine Sisterhood, right?
Shine School. Oh, Shine Tribe Sisterhood is my online Facebook community with all of these amazing women from all over the world who are going through that process of transformation, learning to love themselves and taking their creative ideas and turning them into a business that makes a difference in the world. So it's so cool to see so many people on very similar paths, although the expression of it is completely different because we're unique, and that's the point.
It's funny, isn't it? How, especially online, because everybody kind of sees what everybody's doing. And, especially for creative people, especially for creative plus spiritual people, there only is so many colors to express yourself with. There only is so many symbols. There only is so many, whatever it is, whatever you're using for your branding. And so I think that sometimes people can get a little bit, crazed about what other people are doing, right? But really, even if you're going 1 degree over from somebody else, you're very similar, but 1 degree over, you're going to land in a completely different place, right? A completely different future for yourself. So that's kind of like my last question for you before we go, is what can you really say to somebody that might be struggling with just inundated with information about what's going on around them, and to be their own person online?
Yeah. Just as I've said from the beginning, my message will never change. I'm here to remind you to look inside yourself. And if we're constantly looking outside to other people and comparing ourselves, another quote I love is, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Totally. And I believe that so many of us are doing that, especially as we begin our entrepreneurial business or whatever, and we put it online because we look at the Marie Forleos or we look at the Gabby Bernsteins and we're like, oh, they've already got a website and a book, like they've been doing it for over 10 years. So it took 10 years to be an overnight success. So know that the journey takes time, takes patience, that slow and steady always wins the race. And yes, look outside to the people that are in your category, get inspired, take notes, see what's working for them, but then use your own unique magic, your authentic expression. If you like peach, but Marie Forleo likes black, go with the peach, like who cares? So I think that yes, it's okay to look outside of ourselves, to be inspired, to go, oh, that's possible. If I continue to invest my energy, my creativity, my passion and love into this project, I know that success will be mine, and it could be just as big, if not bigger. So just look outside, be inspired, and then take that inside to where all the magic really is.
In another one of my masterclass guests a couple months ago, she was talking about how, you see somebody doing something and they're, really succeeding at it. And then you try to copy them in a sense and it just doesn't work out. And you're like, why? Like, I'm doing everything that they're doing, but it's because we all have our different soul's gifts, right? And our gifts are never going to be the same as their gifts. So how could the outcome be the same?
Yeah. I mean, if you know another psychic hairdresser, send her my way and we'll be friends, because I would have never guessed like that would be the journey that unfolded for me. And are those the only two labels I give myself? No. But like that's the problem. We try to define ourselves with words and labels when all we have to do is just be authentic to what feels right for us. And again, we'll attract the right people into our lives.
And just imagine if somebody actually saw you online and was like, oh, I'm going to I just love what she's doing and I'm going to try and kind of mimic and copy her for my website. And they became a hairdresser and they dyed their hair pink. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just so crazy. So anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for being on here with us. I'm sure everybody got a really awesome dose of, just how they can be more confident, ways of doing things, and a great, we've really seen what your transformation has been like, which is really, really inspiring. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we will see you again very, very soon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye.